And why? Why on God's green earth, after the last few years of the Chinese communists being exposed as creating a new Holocaust in rural China with the Muslim population, why is Calgary still sister city, twinned to Daqing in China? That's something that Nenshi has to answer. Why has his administration allowed that to continue? It is a tacit endorsement of the Chinese communists and their actions both domestically and abroad. Calgary Mayor Naheed Nenshi has found himself in a little bit of hot water recently after this document was published by the Chinese anti-communist newspaper, the Epoch Times. Now, in case you can't read Mandarin, I'll outline to you what this document is. It is a document created by the Communist Party of China, outlining all of the individuals in Calgary and a few others in Canada who they want to target for an influence operation. Now, this list, including academics and some leaders, the most prominent person is Mayor Naheed Nenshi. Now, according to the Epoch Times, who are experts in the field of the actions of the Communist Party of China, both domestically and abroad, they say that this was a tool, this was a list to cultivate talent. Now, I'm not sure what talent the Communist Party of China sees in Mayor Naheed Nenshi. Maybe the only talent that he has that they're interested in is his willingness to adore and support the Chinese communists, especially in the city of Beijing. Now, it's worth noting before I get into this, the mainstream media completely ignored this story. Now, if that wasn't enough reason to do this story, I don't know what is, but it gets worse. Researchers at Rebel HQ came across this video of Mayor Nenshi in Beijing just a few years ago.
Photo ops are pretty standard fare for trade delegations, but there was more than belt buckles and books being exchanged.
It really does go on top of your belt. We have so much to learn from you.
Did you hear what he just said there? I'll replay it in case you missed it.
We have so much to learn from you.
Now allow me to introduce you to the communist official who Naheed Nenshi thinks Calgarians and Canadians have a lot to learn from. His name is Guo Jinlong, and this individual at that time was the mayor of Beijing, which is part of the power structure of the Communist Party of China. Right after this, he was actually promoted to become the Communist Party secretary of Beijing, but he actually got his start by joining the Communist Party of China back in 1979. He's a lifer with the communists in China, and he moved up the chain while being a propaganda instructor in Nanjing. He is a huge influencer in the Communist Party operations both in Beijing and broader China, and Nenshi thinks that he is someone to learn from. Now, that was just the first time Nenshi visited China as mayor. Nenshi also went back. Now, I don't know why the mayor of a small city in Canada is so obsessed with China that he not only went once, but went back again. Nenshi's adoration of China extends not just to his trips to China, but also here in Calgary. You might remember when the state-owned firm, the state-owned airline, Hainan Airlines, that's a communist airline, made its first trip to Calgary. It was a symbol of the growing partnership, economic and cultural, between Calgary and Communist China. Nenshi was actually the first to line up for a photo with the airline when it landed in Calgary. I wonder what he meant by that. Now, set aside this stuff about the airline in Calgary, I want to go back to the article which explains how devious the communists can be when they try to influence mayors and small-time politicians in foreign countries with perks. Scholars Hamilton and Olberg write in their new book, Hidden Hand, that Chinese officials use sister city arrangements to build personal relationships. These can then be weaponized when a city plans activities that go against CCP positions, such as deals with Taiwan or meetings with the Dalai Lama. Connections with these local politicians can then be leveraged to pressure national governments. It will then attempt to create a profile of each person and find a way to approach them to draw them into the CCP world. Hamilton said the CCP is very good at disguising its operations, hiding behind ideas such as people-to-people exchanges or win-win cooperation and building economic linkages. Now, you read it straight from the horse's mouth. The Chinese Communist Party, the evil villains in the East, they routinely use economic partnerships, cultural person-to-person contact with mayors of foreign countries to cultivate influence. Now, was Mayor Naheed Nenshi aware of this when he gleefully flew to China not once, but twice, when he praised Hainan Airlines and the growing cultural relationship between China and Calgary? And why? Why on God's green earth, after the last few years of the Chinese communists being exposed as creating a new Holocaust in rural China with the Muslim population, why is Calgary still sister city, twinned to Daqing in China? That's something that Nenshi has to answer. Why has his administration allowed that to continue? It is a tacit endorsement of the Chinese communists and their actions both domestically and abroad. Thanks so much for tuning into our coverage here at Rebel News. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you've already done that, ring the notification bell. That way YouTube won't be able to redirect your traffic to mainstream media sites.